So The Chosen Season 4 is in Utah. They are finishing up the last few weeks of filming pending an actor's strike, but we'll talk about that in another video. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's happening, and if my predictions are correct, we're heading towards some really amazing things, including the raising of Lazarus and possibly the triumphal entry. We've talked about this a lot on the channel and what's actually happening here. But let's look at week 15 behind the scenes, which I was actually on set for, but I won't talk about any of that stuff. We're just going to go through the public knowledge of what was on set, and we're going to talk through it just like we do every single week. So let's jump in right here. First things first, we got some updated photos from past weeks, actually. So this top one is John, who looks like Zebedee, Tamar. They're looking at something. My guess is that this is one of two things. Maybe it's Caesarea Philippi, where Peter is going to get a new name and a bunch of different stuff happen there, right? They kind of look confused or sad, maybe. This could also potentially be, could it? This could also potentially be the raising of Lazarus, just not showing us from the perspective that we're going to see it later on, Lazarus walking out of the tomb. Maybe this is right before Jesus tells Lazarus to come out. Now, the bottom picture, obviously, is Lazarus' tomb. I mean, there's pretty much zero doubt in my mind that that's what this is. Obviously, since we know the timeline of where The Chosen's heading, season 5 is going to be Holy Week, and so this has to happen in season 4. I mean, there's just no other option if season 5 is Holy Week. So that's definitely what it is to me. But also, they did a bunch of photo shoot moments here with a bunch of the cast for the CW, which is actually premiering, I believe, tonight. So if you want to rewatch episode 1 for whatever reason, or if you just want to support The Chosen on the CW, then you can go over there and watch that. I think they're going to be premiering them every Sunday and kind of going through all over the place there. Let me go here, and let's go through. Next one, we got Little James and Mary. Now, Jordan Ross, who plays Little James, said that this scene was going to be one of his favorites in the whole series, which is really interesting. Obviously, no biblical significance to this, no biblical reference to this. But it does seem like it's going to be a cool scene for whatever reason. Then we also see Thomas there beneath. Now remember, all of these people get new clothes, so we know that this version of Thomas is actually an earlier version from probably before episode 6-ish is what I'm thinking. But let's continue on. So we've got some more of everybody in the wilderness. Now you can see the difference between the top image and the bottom image. The top image, everybody has their new clothes, so that's later on in the season. The bottom image is them with their old clothes, so most likely earlier on in the season, though I'm not sure when that distinction changes, just like I said. So, again, we've got Big James at the top there. We know later on that he's got a bandage on his head. We're still not sure how that happened or when that happened or why. Although on the bottom there, it does look like they're all traveling together. Again, what looks like it could be Caesarea Philippi, something else. I'm not quite sure, but a lot of stuff there as well. Again, another traveling shot, and then on the bottom there, you see there's basically the whole cast, including Rhema, Tamar, and Mary, all the disciples, and Jesus there. So seems like they're all kind of packed together for this one trip that's got to be important, right? So not exactly sure what that is, but like I said, possibly Caesarea Philippi. Now, we're getting into the main part of the week. Obviously, starting on Tuesday, there was a large group of people that showed up in Utah at the Goshen set, me included, and we got to basically be a part of filming. Like I said, just a reminder, I'm not going to share my personal experience quite yet. Look for a video later this week where I am going to do that without any spoilers, without any insider information. But whatever information we can find in here, we are going to talk about as much as I can. And just use this just like we always do every single week with the public information that's put out. So Daryl did a live stream, which we're going to talk about as well in a separate video, talking about a very specific scene that could be upcoming. But there's a lot of little things that got dropped in that live stream that I think is hilarious. So, so we're going to talk about that. But let's continue on here and see what this week held. First off, I know that was such like a climactic moment to bring you back down to not chosen stuff, but Akis, who is a cinematographer, actually became an American citizen this week. So that's huge. It's really, really cool. He actually was not there for the first few days of filming that I was there. And then he showed up at the end of the week after he had gotten his citizenship and kind of went, and did all of that. So really, really, really cool stuff. Super glad that he's an American citizen and that he can do this now. So it's awesome. Very, very cool. Where's Waldo? So here's an image of the inside of like the temple area in the Jerusalem set. And of course, in the middle there, you can see Dallas sitting on the steps. This is what happened a lot of time when we were on set. If we were waiting for things or if we were doing different things on set, we would be sitting here and you can see most people are trying to find the shade. So that was a large portion of our time on set when we weren't actually working or doing very specific things. Timothy Kennedy, thank you so much for the $20. He says, for your welcome home meal. I appreciate that a ton. I appreciate that so much. This week has been crazy and I am very tired, but we're going to get through this for sure. So thank you so much. If you guys do want to give during the stream or after the fact when this video is out, you can do that by clicking either the super thanks button or that little money sign button next to the chat there. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. And here is one of the cows that was on set. There was different animals that were on set that we saw a bunch of different pictures of from the cast and crew. But here's Luke Dimian, who plays Judas, with that cow there. There's one point on set. Here, I will share something. There's one point on set when this cow literally peed like 2 gallons of liquid. And then everybody had to start walking around the set because it's our job to do. And so like just dozens and dozens of people are walking through this giant puddle of what they don't know until they get too close is cow urine. So so that was quite a moment. We got Jesus here. We got Jonathan Rumi in the midst of some wheat on set. He says, peekaboo is his caption on that one. Funny stuff. We've got Dallas. He was doing this all week long with his little tiny fingers, either giving high fives or fist bumps with his little tiny hands that are on his fingers. Just a funny thing that he was trying to do, I guess, to I don't know, pass the time, but he had them everywhere. Like all the crew members had these hands all over the place. So it was kind of funny. This is Luke Dimian. He said, stubbed my toe, my first on-set injury. Hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully it should be good. Then we continue on. We got some images from inside the kind of setup that they had here. They had a large tent that, thank the Lord, was air conditioned. That helped a ton. But you can see there are about 600 people on this day, and this is the first day of filming. I'm not sure if you catch me in this one because I think I'm standing off to the left here, but you can kind of see the whole setup there. If you do want to see more of my personal experience without any spoilers still, on Patreon, we actually posted a bunch of different stuff. So that was a huge fun time being able to share some of that with you guys on Patreon too. So you can go join that over there if you want to check that out. But here's some of those people here. So there's a bunch of people, and we got to meet a ton of them, and so that was a lot of fun as well. We'll see more of them in just a second. Thank you so much to Bev. Bev went with us on our last Israel trip. If you want to check out our next Israel trips, they're all in the description down below. Bev, you're awesome. Thank you very much, and we'll continue on. She says, here's $20 for dessert. Thank you, Bev. Love you. Here we go. Let's continue on. We've got a picture with all the international kind of global social teams for The Chosen. So I know there's one from like Germany and Brazil and Spain, all these different places that brought that they were flown in for this event to be extras and to do some content for them. So that was pretty cool. And here's another short video from Dallas. This was like a lot of the time too. People were just like clapping and screaming for no reason. Me and Vanessa started joking about it like halfway through the week. It was a very funny thing for us. Like everybody would just start clapping and screaming just because they were excited to be there, which is cool, but it's just funny to me. All right, so here's a little shot from on set from Dallas, and this shows you some of the setup. They have that big white scrim on the right side. This is to help with lighting, right? They don't want that super harsh lighting for a lot of these scenes, especially on your main characters, right? You want them to be you want them to have soft lighting and comfortable lighting so that it looks good on camera. You also see a bunch of these background people. Now, there was a portion of these background people that were paid extras, and then there was a portion of it, the majority of us, right, who got to come through the Come and See Foundation. So yeah, that was a big majority of the people that are here. But mainly the people that were closest to the main actors were almost always paid actors that were there specifically from The Chosen. Here's a little behind the scenes from Lada Silva, who I did not see this week. I don't think we ever did a scene with her or anything like that. Yeah, I think she's supposed to be in some upcoming scenes that maybe didn't get to get filmed yet. I'm not sure. But I did know that she flew in before I did, so she must have been there most of the week. Maybe they filmed other stuff with her at different times. But I know that she flew in before I did because a fan actually saw her at the airport and posted a picture about it going to Utah, I think a day or two before me. And so, yeah, here's a bunch of animals. We got a bunch of sheep here. So, yeah, a lot of different stuff, goats and sheep. All over the place. So more animals. Now here's a little bit of a look at what the actors actually did on set. There's a lot of movement and walking, really just creating that atmosphere of being in Jerusalem, being in this area, right? So just a lot of walking around. I mean, probably 6 to 8 miles a day, if not more.
But if you want,
just kind of walking around. Let's see here. So here is Gadara, which we know from one of the YouTube videos from The Chosen. This is one of our new villains who seems to be a Sadducee. So our first real look at a Sadducee within The Chosen. And, yeah, he seems to be standing next to what looks like Jesus there. I can't really tell from that shoulder, but you can see a lot of the background behind him. And people kind of looking at the situation or just walking around the area here. Now we've got Matthew, who is in his makeup room. And, of course, the tiny hands make a return with his makeup artist here. She's doing his makeup with a tiny hand, which is just, I don't know. I guess it's just the thing they do on set. Here's another look at day 62. So one of the things I wanted to point out in this little clip is this is from Dallas. And you can see on the back wall, there is a huge, massive blue screen. And so it's actually like 3 or 4 large panels that are held up by giant cranes. And so you can see, like, we're on the Jerusalem set. Like, this is supposed to be in Jerusalem. So, like, that all this stuff in the background is going to be filled in with, like, the city, right? And so, yeah, it's just really cool. Having the blue screens there allows them to use it for VFX and do basically what they need to in the background, for sure. But it's a really cool scene. You can see some of these different things. Obviously, there's like vendors up in the stairs here that you can see. You can also see this big camera getting set up, and you can see this what looks to be some sort of pen, right? You see hay on the ground, maybe a little bit of poo on the ground, and different things there as well. See a quick pan over to most of the crew who is standing in this large doorway here, which is there. You also see the photographer for The Chosen, which is cool, and some of the other background characters that we've seen on this show, just talking through a lot of the BTS, including Sam Jenkins, who is Dallas's son, right here as well, and Mitch, who is the second AD, meaning he's like in charge of the background. He helps with a lot of the assistant directing stuff there. Another really cool thing is we see the temple guard, because of course, where are they standing in front of? The temple, right? And so you can kind of see that there in this shot as well. And there's that again with Daryl. Now, this part was interesting. This is one of the only sections where we get a hint at what this scene could be. And again, I may or may not have been a part of different scenes, and so I'm not going to speak to directly, a scene that I saw or heard or whatever. All we're going to do is look at, public things just like this, where we talk about what is going on in this scene from our point of view, from the public. So let's listen to what Dallas says right here.
Good, this will work, this will do. When he has brought out all this.
All right, so it's kind of hard to hear, but what he says is he's kind of walking through the scene with Jonathan, showing him what he would like. And so he walks up the stairs, he goes, okay, so this is good, this will work, this will do, and he's kind of saying what you should be thinking in your head. And then he says one line in particular, which he says, he brought out all his own, or he brought out all his sheep, okay? And so let's rewind, and you can kind of hear that here as he's kind of going through.
When he has brought out all his sheep.
So when he had brought out all his sheep.
Why don't we right now...
So he's going through and just kind of directing, like it's his job, to talk about different things. Then we see this posted by The Chosen as well. Of course, we see Sam Jenkins in the back there, but we got a lot of different actors, including a Roman guard up here on the stairs, a Pharisee or a Sadducee over here, a bunch of them actually. And then we get the main crew of people in the middle of this scene with Andrew and Nathaniel and Simon Z and Tamar, and pretty much everybody's here as they're kind of going through. Let's take a look at this scene and see if we can find anything else.
Follow him, for they know his voice. They won't follow a stranger.
Yep. So he said, and they follow him because they know his voice. So I say Bible time here because we're going to jump into some Bible, okay? So we've got the Bible here. This is really interesting because last week we jumped into this exact chapter. Before I had ever gone to Utah, before any of this ever happened, before they filmed any scenes this week, we were in this exact chapter, which is John chapter 10. Let me reset this because it is being annoying again and it's not letting me scroll. 1 second. Let's get this going. And good. There we go. Okay, cool. So John chapter 10, okay, the first thing in John chapter 10 is I am the good shepherd. So if we type in those words that we heard from the public videos, right, he says when he has brought out all his sheep, I think is what he says in there, instead of his own. And then we also hear in that second clip, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. So this is really interesting because we had talked about this verse last week, meaning that looks like they're going to do a large portion of this chapter, which is super interesting. Not only do we get this amazing section, which is the Good Shepherd, but we also get this a piece of this latter section at least because we talked about this last week, right? At the time of the Feast of Dedication took place in Jerusalem, it was winter. The reason why we talked about this is because they're going to be celebrating Hanukkah, right? We know that from the YouTube video. We have confirmation from that from the YouTube video from last week. And so we know that they're going to be celebrating Hanukkah because that is the Feast of Dedication, also known as the Feast of the Maccabees, right? And so as they go through Hanukkah, we could see several parts of this section as well, right? Which Jesus is like, this is one of my favorite sections in John. One, it's right before John chapter 11. And do you know what happens in John chapter 11? Well, let's go see. Oh, there it is right there. Right? So it happens right before John chapter 11, which could be really, really interesting. The resurrection and the life, Jesus weeps, and then he raises Lazarus, right? So it's right before John chapter 11. We're getting this Good Shepherd section, which is super, super cool. Obviously frustrates the people and kind of separates them, right? Says at the end of this, and again, there was a division amongst the Jews because of these words. Many of them said he has a demon and is insane. Why listen to him? Others said these are not the words of someone oppressed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? So they're kind of separate, right? They're divided. But then we get into this section here, and this is one of my favorite sections because Jesus is so clear on who he is, right? And so like this section here, I and the Father are one, right? This is one of the clearest sections in Scripture of Jesus showing his divinity, showing his godliness, right? Yeah, so cool. So cool. So anyway, we'll jump back into the behind the scenes, but I wanted to jump into that Bible time because I thought it was so coincidental, right? Coincidental that we jumped from John chapter 10 last week talking about Hanukkah into John chapter 10 again this week after those words that Jesus shares in the Instagram post. So a lot of really, really cool stuff, a lot of really amazing biblical moments that I can't wait to dive into when the show releases and when these things actually happen. It's going to be so cool. All right, let's jump back into our BTS here and see what's upcoming next. Now, this is another thing that came out on the internets, right? Another Instagram post here, and this one says fake rocks, prop things. So we got a fake rock here. It's really squishy, right? Which is really weird because normally when they do fake rocks, they are not that way. At least in my opinion, or at least in my, studying from what I've seen from The Chosen. Most of the time, if they're doing fake rocks, they're like almost like a canvas material or like a hard, fake rock that you're kind of putting off, maybe like a fiberglass or something like that. Something that's interesting in this is when we go here, right, we see right here. Just that one line. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, I wanted to let you know that not even half of the people that watch our channel are actually subscribed. So we could be closer to 60 or even 100,000 subscribers if you would just help me and press that button. My goal right now is actually to pass Rabbi Jason Sobel in subscribers. So if you want to help me do that, make sure you subscribe, and that would be amazing. Anyway, thanks. Let's continue on with the video. So let's continue on. Of course, we got a ton of people coming in through the sections over here. Like I said, there's about 600 people who are all over the place, and yeah, pretty crazy times. Like, it's just so many people. It was a cool experience. I'll just say that it's really cool. But we see all those pens and all those different things kind of filled up. You also see this giant piece of machinery here. With the camera on it, which is really cool for those large kind of like sweeping shots that are coming through. You see a ton of people in here. Okay. I'm stopping for a second because, yep. Okay, I'm just going to stop for a second and just watch the screen for a second. I did not realize this until right now. All right, let's continue on and keep going. All right.
I've got a little bit more here.
We got a bunch of people on set there. It looked like that was more of a chill scene. It didn't seem like they had a ton of people in the background there. Let me go back to that one more time. So it looks like this is everybody coming in, but then after that, this is a scene that looks like there's a bunch of people kind of standing around, but all the extras, like the 600 extras, actually aren't there. We got that there.
I've got a little bit more here.
And here we got a small scene, what looks like Simon the Zealot. We've got Zebedee as well as Big James, and they put a camera on this cart to kind of follow behind them. Really, really cool stuff. Looks like we've got Tamar over there, maybe some other people, but I don't know what this could be about. Looks like Thomas is there as well.
Okay, so maybe everyone else can.
So this is day 63 now. Some cool stuff happening here. Of course, we got Sam Jenkins right in the foreground there. Now they're all wearing their chosen baseball jerseys. I think they wear their jerseys on Wednesday or Thursday, and then they wear their Hawaiian shirts on Friday. So it's always fun seeing everybody wear their different stuff there.
Help me with this quick little tutorial thing. I don't know how you.
Now we're also seeing, this scene as well right here. Actually met this guy right here in the back. So if you're watching, say hello. But I actually met him and got to talk with him and his wife. Very, very cool couple. But he was one of the 600 extras that were with us there. Very, very cool. Looks like we've got a scene with Jesus here. Roman soldiers there for some reason. And we've got a bunch of the cast kind of down here listening to him. It may be a continuation of that same scene that Dallas was showing Jonathan how to do earlier, but not sure.
So my background actors, what is your...
Now, we've got this as well. We're going to talk about this in a separate video, but keep this in mind. Now, here's Dallas again coming back with the tiny hands. I don't know what the fascination is with these, but of course I need to get some, so I will be going to Amazon after the stream for sure. Just kidding. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Tune in live next week to see if I have tiny hands or not. But we continue on. Here's the 5, and of course the 2 on the other side. Yes, I did try to pause and look at that monitor to see if there's anything on it. Not really. Here's a super large piece of equipment. He says, when you bring in expensive equipment for a moment that now we don't have actors for. We're going to talk about this in a second, the SAG strike and everything that's happening with that in a bit, but it won't be in this video. Continuing on, a cool thing to note here as well is there is like some Roman stuff on the end here. So we've got a big Roman flag there. So this is showing that Jerusalem has some of that iconography on it as well. Really, really interesting. We're coming to some more interesting things here in just a second. We've also got this large group scene, which is from Dallas as well. We've got this guy who was he was spraying like all of us, trying to help us out with the heat. It was like over 100, very, very hot. We'll talk about that in another video as well. But let's look at this scene and tell me what you guys think about it. Throw up your ideas very quickly and let me know what you think about this moment right here. So we've got that big Roman flag again. We've got a bunch of Roman iconography up top. And then we continue in. Waiting for some guessing, maybe. There's a big camera on a large boom that's kind of coming through that arch. Really, really interesting stuff. Obviously, a lot of expensive equipment. Let's see. Do we have any guesses here? We've got Palm Sunday from Travis. Casey says Palm Sunday. Triumphal Entry. Okay, maybe. Palm Sunday. Triumphal Entry. Palm branches. What could that mean? Some folks have told me, so I can't say. Wow, okay, rude. I'm going to have you rat them out. Palm branches. I see palm branches. Ooh, palms. Interesting. Triumphal Entry. Palm Sunday. Palm branches. Interesting. Triumphant Entry. Palm fronds, palm branches waving. Yes, triumphal entry, Palm Sunday. Okay, interesting. Good guesses. Maybe, perhaps. There's a bunch of people. I don't think Vanessa and I were on set for this part, so we weren't at this shooting moment here. But a bunch of palms. Yeah, that's Dallas kind of showing us that there. Here's another angle of it. We've got Dallas with one of the crew members. Again, this is on Friday, the last day that we filmed with them. All the crew members, for whatever reason, decided to wear fake mustaches, which was really interesting to me. We also see a bunch of people in the background, and they are also holding up palms. What did you guys think of the behind the scenes this week? A ton of really interesting things as we kind of talk through, all that's happening. This is someone else's guess, real quick, as you guys are guessing still. Someone on Facebook, Kayla Thompson, says, "Y'all, look at this, triumphal entry. The next day, the great crowd they had come for the festival heard that Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. They took palm branches and went out to meet him, shouting, 'Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.'" So she's using the same footage that we just looked at and kind of comes up to the same conclusion. So I'll let you guys come to your own conclusions on all of that. Thanks for checking out this video. If you want to see more behind the scenes content and our trip to Utah where we went and filmed with The Chosen, then make sure to sign up for our Patreon at patreon.com/thisnightlife. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.